Right, welcome everyone. I'm Tash. I am VP of Customer Growth at Hook, and I have a wonderful guest with me today, the lovely Sam Killip, VP of Customer at Attest. Welcome, Sam. Thank you for chatting to us today.
Yes.
Today we're going to chat all about executive engagement. I know you said was, as we were prepping for this, a big hot topic right now, but we'll get to that in a sec. We want to know a little bit more about you and your team first, if that's okay.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit more about Attest and your customer success team.
Okay, so as you know, I work for Attest, and we're an online consumer research platform really aimed at global research teams, or actually any team really that wants to use research methodologies in their insight. And the way that I think we position ourselves is that we know that at the moment it's a very confusing and challenging world out there, and we really want our customers to find their path, the right path for them. And we do that by supporting them through carrying out consumer research so they can really understand what their consumers and their future consumers think and feel.
Nice. And so with maybe tell us a little bit about your teams. Are you running customer success teams? Are you running other teams in there? Are they one-to-one? Are they scaled? Maybe give us a little bit of perspective there.
Sure. So my sort of official title is VP of Customer, and the customer team at Attest is split into 3 sections. So we have our customer success team, and they are a team which are responsible, I always think, for making sure the customer sees the value in our product. They are a commercial team. They have commercial targets. But really, if the customer doesn't see the value and we're not making the customer successful, then that's a problem commercially. Then we have a customer research team, and their role I sort of see as twofold. They sort of advise the customers on the technical aspects and the research aspects of all the projects that they run. And they're also there to advise on what else the customers could be doing in the platform to really maximize that value. And then thirdly, we have a customer operations team, and they're sort of a more technical, making sure the platform's running smoothly, etc. So everything post-sale comes to us. One sort of quirk of the team is that for some of our customers, we use a hybrid success manager and research manager. So we have someone that combines both the sort of commercial aspects of the role and then the practical consultative aspects of the role for the customers, for some of our customers. Yeah.
Nice. And I love, one of my questions to you was going to be, but I think you've actually answered it beautifully already. What does customer success mean to you? And it sounds like you're doing the type of CS that I absolutely adore, which is proactive, value-driven, commercially centered, which is wonderful. You mentioned that your team are targeted commercially. Do they have KPIs or activity levels that they have to hit that surround that motion, or is it purely driven by, hey, these are the outcomes?
Yeah, I think I love what you say there, because I think, historically customer success was, well, if you give the customer a good service, they will stay and they will renew and they will grow. Yeah. And then over the years, there was a realization, wasn't there, that wasn't happening. And so there was sort of a swing to, well, we need to be very commercially focused, almost like a sales team. And I think we're kind of all swinging back now to a middle ground where, yes, we absolutely have to be commercially successful, but in order to do that, we have to make our customers successful and make them see the value in the product. So I love how you set that out, and I think most of us are on that journey. Yeah. In terms of KPIs, I mean, we have our NRR, obviously, and our GRR. But what we do as a team, as a company, is use OKRs. Every 6 months, we have a refresh of our OKRs. And they can change very much, and we're using what's very important to us. And one of our OKRs is about executive engagement.
So
nice. Sure that a percentage of our accounts, particularly those that are perhaps of a higher value, we have good customer exec engagement. So
love that.
Our focus is for H2.
Yes, perfect segue for me as well. So appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem.
Well, that's the theme of the conversation today, right? It's all about executive engagement. Tell me from your perspective, why is this an important piece of customer success today?
Yeah, I think there's 3 areas why I think it's so important, and sort of we came to a slow realization over time and experience. So number 1, I think in a challenging commercial landscape that we're in at the moment, the CFO, the CMO, the CEO has to sign off a lot of the platforms and the tools that we're providing. And you want to make sure that they're aware of you and aware that the value that you bring to the business, and not sort of you're not solely relying on your users to sell that into the exec. I think secondly, we have, or you can have, a lot of stakeholder turnover. And supposing your champion goes and your buyer goes, then you need to make sure there's still someone in the business who's aware of you and knows what you do for them. And then thirdly, I think it's our role as in customer success to make sure that all of the business is successful. So that exists on many levels. You need to make sure that your users are successful and they're getting out of a tool what they need, or a platform what they need, but also you're feeding into whatever a business needs to be successful, and that is often realized at that top level. So I think they're the three main areas why we've realized it's so important, and it's something that we need to focus on.
I love that. And so it sounds like you're driving this behavior in your team through OKRs, which is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a member of your team, I know I have an OKR to do X amount of executive engagement. How do I know where to start? Like, am I given guidance from you on this quarter engage with this type of exec? Is it just that you have to have done it on 75% of your customers? Like, maybe give us some more color there, so that if somebody else doesn't have this guidance, they can go seek it for themselves and set themselves a framework.
Sure. Okay. Well, I think one of the things which is easier said than done, and I think using from this hymn sheet too, is that customer success is really a business-wide thing. So what you sort of want to do, if you can do, is sort of, if we start out here, we really want the whole business to understand the importance of exec. So we're really lucky at Attest. We have a fabulous CEO called Todd Latham, and he's very interested in customers. So he is always very willing to connect with customers if we need him to or want him to, and indeed he sometimes does it anyway. So there's sort of, we've got exec level buy-in for this, and I'll come into more detail in a tick. Then of course you need your product, your platform, your tool. You want that to be able to be something that your users can find easy to talk about and to share upwards themselves within a business. So you want to make sure your product's set up to encourage exec engagement, if you like, and also your exec team at your end, you want them to be. And then of course you've got the practicalities of yourself. What can you do? So I think if we look at it as if we were starting a new business today, and we wanted to say, right, exec engagement is really important. So we sort of go through a new customer flow. And I think for some of your customers, I don't think not all that this is going to work, but certainly your higher value, perhaps, customers, you are going to want to set up what I call mapping within your team. Yep. So you will want you as the CSM to be able to talk to your stakeholders, your power users, etc. And then perhaps if we go to the other end, you'll want your CEO to engage with their respective number C-suite perhaps at your business. And so what you can do is when you're onboarding your customer, you can get your CEO to reach out. They don't necessarily have to have a conversation. They can just send a quick note. And then the CEO can send little pulse reports throughout the course of the year and at renewal. So you have that sort of mapping. So I'd say for some customers, I'd say that's really appropriate. For yourself, what you want to do is also, first of all, understand who the execs are. You'll often need to engage your sales team when that's handed over to you. So they'll have an understanding of who's had influence over the original purchase. And then you can make sure that you engage with your stakeholders to understand what's important to them. I think that's one of the key things, is because quite often you've got your users who, let's take, for example, a florist. So your users, perhaps for in a research team or a marketing team, they've got things that are very important to them, the work that they need to deliver and the aspects of the tool or the platform that's important to them. But what you want to do is understand from them what's important to the wider business. So you need your business objectives. And for a florist, it might be to become the #1 leading delivery service in the UK. And as long as you understand that, then you can start understanding, first of all, what you need to deliver to your immediate stakeholders, and then what you need to start delivering to their business.
Yeah.
And you can get to those exec stakeholders by simply doing that. So I think there's sort of various little tactics and things that you can do from a communication point of view, but also from an attitude point of view. You know, I'm looking at the business objectives, but I'm also looking at what I need to do for my immediate contacts.
I love that. And I don't know about you, but I think to myself, like if I was a CSM and I was starting again and I hadn't done any of these things, I would just set myself a little target to say, okay, I'm going to target to do to tee up an executive engagement with 25% of my book of business this quarter, and let's just make it a target and let's go. And I'd probably start easy. I'd think about the new customers coming in who don't know anything different in the service level, where it's really easy for you to set that expectation and say, this is the way that we operate. I'm going to engage with you in this way. Then maybe test it with a couple of like healthier customers that are seeing value, where you've got a nice, easy narrative to go to the exec, and then work my way to some of the more impactful ones where that exec engagement in a risk customer would be really impactful for the business. But I think if there's people that watch this or that read the write-up, it's honestly as simple as setting yourself a bit of a target and getting going, right? Trying these different tactics and seeing what works for you.
Yeah, I think there's a natural reticence in all of us to go outside of our comfort zone. And our comfort zone is very much the contacts that we deal with day to day. We get to know them, we form relationships with them, business relationships with them, we know what they want. And sort of the idea of forming a connection with someone outside of that, particularly if they're very senior, can be daunting at times. But actually, if you think about to yourself, I am here to provide what you need, and it's really important for you that you know that we're doing that, and how else can we help you, then you know everyone's a winner, really.
Totally. It's a very important mindset shift that you're there to add value. And so actually that exec having a conversation with you would add a ton of value as well. Wonderful. I'm sure that your team are well versed in exec engagement because it's an OKR and something you've been focused on. But maybe tell us a little bit about how you've partnered with your team, how you've enabled them, how you've coached them on engaging with execs, a bit about that journey and some of the skills that you've focused on.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, to say it's not an easy journey. It's not an easy thing to do. And certainly, I think we're all coming to the realization that it's something that is because of the reasons I said earlier, more and more important. But what we've really been focusing on a team this year really is, as I say, moving away from the commercial, transactional, programmatic feel that is easy to drift into with some relationships to that value piece. And we sort of have moved a little bit, a methodology that our sales team uses. So our sales team use command of the message. It's a really great sales methodology because it is all around value, but we've tweaked it a little bit to work with customer success, and that enables us through all those touch points within a customer journey. So from an alignment to impact reviews, to touch-ins, to renewals, to think all the time about what is the value that I'm bringing and who am I bringing it to and why would I care? So it's not just exec engagement that encompasses, it's just this whole level and tone of conversation. And so once you become confident around that and framing things around that, then it becomes easier to get in touch with those executives.
Yeah, that's amazing. And do you give guidance to your team at all on, I don't know, things like, make sure that you're providing value before you go ask for something, or like, credits in the bank before you go ask or you try for a withdrawal, or make sure that you're providing updates on things along the way before you go and ask for something of that exec or ask them to unlock something? Or are they kind of like able to navigate some of this stuff on their own?
Yeah, I think it very much depends on the individual and the level of confidence that they have. So I think there's going to be some CSMs who've years of experience who've sort of been doing it naturally for years, and they've known, actually, when I get a new customer, I need to map it out. And if there's been any whisper of some exec engagement along the sales process, then I need to make sure that I keep that relationship warm and keep that updated. And what's really important is that for those CSMs to share those experiences and those wins, if you like, with newer people to the team. So it's very important that you have in your sort of team meetings, you have how I've done this, or wins, or communications, particularly when you've got a KPR and OKR around it. It's really useful for the team to exchange with each other how they've done it and how they've been successful. And then particularly, as I said, if you can involve other members of your wider company team, product members, for example, inviting those execs to talk to them about what's important to them, and then your C-suite as well to engage, that's really important. In terms of actually sort of day-to-day tactical, then yes, you can't go steaming into a CEO and say, well, I'd like to have a conversation with you, please, because they're not. And if you think about your own business and the tools and the platforms that you have, and then the number of relationships that your CEO has with those tools or platform provider, then it's probably not very many. So you're absolutely right, Tash, that you've got to say, well, I need to show the business and establish us as a valued partner that is bringing you something. And you almost have to get your champion as well to agree with you, because it might be that you never have a conversation with an exec, but what you can do is help your champion build a case for you, or build that communication line for you. So absolutely, steaming in is, if you think practically about your own business, isn't going to work. Why would your CEO talk to a platform CSM that you have in your business? You know, what would make them? If you start thinking that way and being empathetic around that, that's going to help you.
Yeah, I love that. And what about communication? Are you coaching your team at all on how to communicate to executives? Do you find that the written communication, verbal communication needs a bit of tweaking when you're engaging with executives? Like, what kind of advice do you have there?
Yeah, short, sharp, to the point is always really the way forward. Again, they've got a million things going on in their brains, and you're not going to take up very much space in it. So I mentioned earlier on about pulse reports. So something that we've introduced this half for new customers is for a CEO, or for me, to send a pulse report to the exec contact. We may not get a response. If we don't, it doesn't matter. We're still showing the value. And really, that is shortly the success that we've had so far and what we've done for you so far. Literally 3, 4, 5 lines at most. If you, of course, get them on a call, then you can, again, it needs to be very sharp and to the point, and you also have to make sure you understand what's important to them. So again, use your champions to understand what that is, and your experience of the conversations that you've had with your champion, but really sharp and to the point. Can I say that enough? Is a change of communication style, I'd say.
I also think you mentioned something important there, that if you're sending a pulse report or whatever your version of that is to an exec, and they don't reply, that doesn't mean they haven't read it. Like, just because they don't reply, again, it comes back to executive communication. I think executives are less likely to reply and say, okay, great, thank you, like perhaps some other of us might. It doesn't mean they haven't read it, and it doesn't mean that hasn't lodged in their brain that you're providing this value and you're doing these things for them. And all of that makes a difference come internal renewal conversation, because you've been present, you've been showing value, you've been providing updates. And I think you'd be surprised by what that brings to the table when internal conversations are had about where they want to renew tech and which vendor's worth it.
Yeah, exactly right. You don't want to be an unknown when it comes to renewal time and sign off time. And it might be that best case scenario is someone in the business has had a conversation, but in all likelihood that probably hasn't happened. But what you want to have is not be unknown, and you can sort of therefore do it 2 ways. That short pulse report, they'll remember you, but also again helping your champion make them aware of you throughout the course of that year's sub or whatever arrangement you've got.
Yeah, I love that. Well, before we wrap up, if you were a CSM and you were doing this all over again, or if somebody's listening and they're a CSM, they've not been doing this, any last tips or words of advice, words of wisdom for folks who are trying to start engaging with execs or trying to improve their strategy when it comes to executive engagement?
Yeah, I think that the sort of one tip I'd give is take time to understand their business, know their business, and know what's important to them, and then relate the work that you do with your stakeholders to those requirements. I'd say if you can make those connections and use your stakeholders to help you, if you make those connections, then that just makes everything a bit more useful, both for you and for them.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Sam, you've been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and hope to chat to you again soon.
It's been great.